What's up everybody, it's Matt from Peter Glenn, and in this video we're going to talk to you about volume shift snowboards and exactly what volume shift is and how it works. Let's check this out. All right, so when we're talking about the volume shift snowboards, we're kind of going back to that math that we learned a long time ago when we're learning about volume, length times width times height. And when you're doing this with a snowboard, you're actually kind of replacing that height with flex, but I'll explain that in a minute. So taking a board like the Ride War Pig, basically you can have a 148 snowboard, but this is actually going to ride and feel like it's 6 to 10 centimeters bigger. So how they do that in these boards is they basically take a board that's kind of in that, let's say 54 to 58 range, and what they do is they shorten it down. But then if they make it shorter to keep the same amount of volume, they have to widen it. And then instead of actually making it thicker to keep around the same volume, what they're doing is they're stiffening it up from a traditional 148 snowboard. Now, the way to think about that is if you are someone who fits on a 158, if you do make a board shorter, you're gonna need it to be a little bit wider just to accommodate your foot. A traditional size foot on somebody that's riding a 58, it's gonna be way too big for somebody who's usually riding a traditional 148. And then for the flex, a rider who's riding a 158 is gonna be a bigger rider, a little bit heavier rider, or maybe somebody who's taller and just has more leverage over the board. So you're gonna need to have that extra stiffness in the board so you get the same pop, the same stability, and basically the overall same energy in the board. So where this is really cool is you're actually getting a board that has less swing weight. There's less board out beyond your bindings for you to actually throw around. Another big benefit too is if you are a little bit heavier for your height on average, you can actually get a board that's gonna fit you lengthwise, kind of in that chin to nose type area, but it's gonna be a little bit stiffer because usually if you are heavier, you're gonna need a longer board, and sometimes it could be a board that's a little bit longer than you feel comfortable riding. Another thing that's pretty cool with a lot of the volume shift boards is that there are a few out there like the Ride Twin Pig, which is a fully twinned up board, basically for riding park and still going outside of the park. But boards like the Orca and the War Pig, these things are rad because the nose is a little bit longer than the tail. But the cool part about it is they're only adding the length past the kick. So if you actually look at the stance on the War Pig, it's actually centered up, but it's centered up on the side cut. If you look at the length of the nose from the insert to the nose, you can see that that's almost 2 of my hands from my thumb to pinky. But if you look at the tail, it's only about 1.5. Now, when you're riding on flat snow, the nose and the tail, the kick that's not touching the snow, it doesn't matter. You're basically riding the board and it's feeling like a twin tip board because it is centered up on the side cut. But essentially it's like taking a twin tip board, taking a little bit off of the tail and adding it on the nose. So when you do get into some deep snow, it causes the tail to sink and the nose to lift. So you're actually getting the benefits of a free ride or powder board, but you're getting it in a board that's 100% ready to ride the park. Now, obviously with the boards, there's different volume shifts for different boards. The War Pig has a 6 to 10 centimeter volume shift. The Twin Pig and the Orca have a 3 to 6 centimeter. Some boards I've seen 1 to 3 centimeters. I haven't really seen much beyond 10 centimeters, but there are actually boards out there that have a volume shift in the opposite direction. They're basically taking a board that has a little bit smaller amount of board that's touching the snow, so it's very, very nimble, and it actually has a little bit extra length in the nose and tail. But again, in general, the volume shift is more about shifting down, and if you ever want to know how much to volume shift, basically just look in the descriptions, and most of the time it'll tell you right there. But if you got any questions beyond what we talked about in the video, definitely leave some comments down below. We're on there every single day trying to answer your questions. We want to make sure we can get you into some rad gear, but most importantly, we want to make sure that it's going to fit you and it's going to fit your specific riding style. Also make sure to like, subscribe, and definitely get that notification bell on too so you can find out when all the new videos drop, and head on over to peterglenn.com, grab yourself a volume shift snowboard and get out and ride, because any day of riding is a good day of riding.